This is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNNLive, right? First Look LA 2014, presented by Los Angeles Venture Association. I have with me Ron Goldberg of Isowalk. It's a private company. Ron, welcome to SNNLive.
Thanks for having me, Shelley. Great to be here.
It's good to have you. Isowalk, what is it about?
It's an intelligent mobility aid. It's the world's first. It features both biomechanical and digital intelligence. So it's not only a new experience in mobility assistance, it goes beyond the cane. It is also an intelligent technology that can predict falls, measure your outcomes, predict your recovery times. We're working with UCLA Wireless Health on this.
So let me ask you a question. One of the hardest things for a doctor to do is find out if their patient is actually doing what they tell them to do. Are you telling me that if a patient hip is starting to rehabilitate and they're using a cane, this cane's going to record what they did during that day, if they walked, how long they walked, and predict what could happen?
It's actually, the answer is yes. It's actually a very common scenario. So you go in for, say, a hip replacement. There are about 1 million hip and knee replacements in the U.S. each year. The doctor says, okay, everything looks like it's great. I want you to walk around for a couple of weeks, come see me again. Then they come back in a couple of weeks and all of a sudden they're saying, well, you know, I'm still a little sore, I'm a little stiff. And the doctor says, well, have you been walking? And they say, well, sure I have. That's only anecdotal.
We're talking about compliance.
We're talking about complete compliance tracking. So this is a very powerful technology, not only for the doctor, but for the caregiver, someone looking after their elderly parents, and also to the insurance company that wants to keep track of all this.
Is it tracking in real time?
Sure it is. And it's also holding enough data so that if I'm looking after a parent or a grandparent and I can't get there every day to make sure that the data is intact, is like, gee, dad's getting better or he's not getting better, so on and so forth, there's enough memory in there to let that hold up for a couple of weeks worth of storage.
Can you check that data remotely?
Yes, there's a cloud already built. We think that's going to be very important, not only to the caregiver, but again to the doctors and the healthcare stakeholders.
So you can check on the patient without having to visit them?
When I ask Dad, how are you feeling, and he says fine, I don't have to believe him anymore. I can look it up.
So now you're talking about this product that you have in your hand. Let me hold it. You tell me what's going on here.
We've got all kinds of stuff going on. You'd think it was a stick, but this is beyond a stick. So let's begin with the handle and its geometry. What we've done is we've selected angles and surfaces so that the hand, wrist, and arm line up perfectly. This is really one of the big problems with a cane, is that it forces the weight onto the metacarpals, very fragile area, and onto the wrist, an extremely fragile area. So you're already at a disadvantage when it comes down to walking because you're probably going to fall. A lot of your weight's in the wrong place. The grip is optimized for left and right-handed use. It moves the force away from those fragile areas and puts them into the palm and heel, which are very strong. So now you've lined up in a straight line. We've received a patent on a shock absorption system that's on both sides of this, which conforms itself to your own specific walk. The electronics go in here. This is where you have your gait analysis technology. These are carbon fiber rods, very lightweight. And this foot has triple the surface area of a conventional cane, so you're really cutting down on falls, which are a terrible problem.
What's your background?
I'm actually a consumer electronics guy for the past 25 years. I had to caretake for my parents as they aged and watched them fail with their mobility. I said, you've got to be able to do better than this, that my father was using this $5 thing from the flea market. My brother's an aerospace engineer. We kind of put our heads together and said, wow, we can do better than this, and we did.
So this is a family project. Let's get right down to it.
Well, it started off that way. It has now extended well into that. Now we're into the university collaboration.
So do you take this further and go into the walker market also?
We think walkers, rollators, wheelchairs, all kinds of intelligent mobility aids can be very important. Also, appendages, so the boots for recovery, knee braces for recovery, so on and so forth. We need to be able to monitor those. All we have now, all the doctors have now is anecdotal evidence. Yeah, I'm feeling better, I'm not feeling better, now we know.
How close to market is this product?
We feel that we can unveil this at the Consumer Electronics Show in January. We hope to have it on the market by next spring.
What size market is it if you had to throw out a number that no one's going to hold you to?
You can hold me to it. Right now we have between 13 and 15 million users in the U.S. alone. There are 6 million canes that are being sold every year in the U.S. alone, which is not only a big number, but it's kind of astonishing because there's no real reason to get another cane. If I decide I want to get another cane, it's not going to work any differently than the cane I have now. So maybe I get a blue one instead of a silver one. This is really something different that we think people are going to jump at once it comes to market.
I could go on. I've got a lot of questions. It's obviously something that will be reimbursable. What are you talking about price-wise comparison to the old-style wooden cane?
Well, you're in a situation now where it's kind of like water. You're competing with free. Free water comes out of my tap, yet we buy Evian. You can apply your reimbursable towards an Isowalk if you like. It's a very minimal fee. It's not going to buy you one of these. It can get you basically a free cane from Walgreens. And if that's good enough for you for your couple weeks of recovery, great. For someone that has to depend on this to get around every day, probably for the rest of their life, money is not really the same issue. The non-connected model will list at $99, and the smart model will list at $179.
Which is no big deal anyway.
It's not. It is very accessible technology. We mean for this to be mass market.
So where do you go from here?
We're beginning our collaboration with UCLA to make our final refinements. We have to apply the aesthetics, and we're talking about collaborations with distribution channels into the physical therapy market, because that's going to be really important for gathering data.
So I imagine you're going to make them in different sizes if you're a 7-foot basketball player or if you're a jockey.
We just had this happen not 5 minutes ago during the presentation. A guy that was much bigger than me says, I'm on a cane and it doesn't fit me. I know. A conventional cane is, again, the least evolved device that you could possibly imagine. It has height stops of 1 inch. That's way too coarse. You can't have a device that fits a 4'11" grandmother and a 6'9" linebacker. It just doesn't work. You need to be able to make something for them, and now we have.
I think you're very futuristic in an area that I think has long been overlooked.
I think there have been reasons for that that have nothing to do with technology. It's mostly about economics. It's very inexpensive to take a piece of aluminum tubing and bend it and say it's a cane. It has been a reimbursement-based business for a long time, so cheaper was always better. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with cheap, but I'm saying that there are people who want better, and that's what we're offering.
Ron, for the many people who want more information on your company, where should they go to find information on Isowalk?
Let's start with the website, www.isowalk.com, ISOWALK.com. More content to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ron Goldberg from Isowalk. It's a private company. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you from the First Look LA 2014, presented by the Los Angeles Venture Association. Ron, I want to thank you for coming on to SNNLive and wish you luck.
Thank you very much, Shelley. It was a pleasure being with you.
You're quite welcome.